When you're not a love slave to John Lennon, you remember without too much conscious flack the idea of public schools where children learned and went off to have jobs and families. And you were suspicious of things like the Vietnam War and the AIDS operation, didn't like racism. I'd like to explain what's going on with me to the few and far between. People just have some interest in making sense of the world, not trying to get points from UW Dialectical, not trying to earn money dishonestly like the city of Seattle and their museum thieves, not trying to get over like King Crimson. Because people, ordinary people, might want to know what's going on, the way you want to know if there's a wildfire spreading in the neighborhood. My father wrote a book called Humanizing the School. I got a letter once from Franklin Graham, who looks older these days. I'm somewhat comforted by the fact that Billy Graham survived psychologically his Parkinson's affliction. It made me feel like maybe I could too, not as a rival, but as a fellow man. I don't particularly care for the Grahams, but one of the few people who ever made sense was from the Graham Foundation. She said, if you were to forgive these people who keep demanding that you forgive them, would they at least leave you alone? Can you believe that? Because Graham's Foundation is part of the problem. They're the ones demanding forgiveness. And so to get the idea of what King Crimson did, you can look at Gaza and what I believe Gaza should position themselves to announce as their agency. It's not that I don't see the problem of using forbidden language about the Israelis backfiring. I just don't see that as the point. The question isn't how to overthrow Israel, but how to make peace with the world around you. Now, Israelis are blaming innocent people for what happened to them, and Gazans shouldn't get in the habit, but they're going to be living with the trauma. So to put this together, the brilliant spinner beanies of King Crimson said, well, we'll give Queerball, which is what they called me when they tortured me, an inner Jew that is his salvation. He'll go around in a neurotrauma with flowers. I'm like a Jew. I'm like a Jew, which is the way I was most of the time. I called myself a ghost in from Treblinka. I've changed over the years since I've woken up, snapped out of it a little bit. Seen the Wadmaker neuroplasm they implanted and so on. But I wouldn't be an honorary Jew if I didn't advocate gentleness towards the criminal psychotics of Pittsburgh and so on and so on. They called this Amnesty International. So what King Crimson said was the queer ball will be given an enormity and be derided and laughed at. Ha ha. Penis Gabriel and Mel Gibson will make him out as though he's the last temptation kid. And Yoko Ono will follow him, threatening to inject him with HIV. And Seattle will poison him in the mouth. And Rosa Clemente will hire Hardy to stroke him. And this is what they did. I mean, that's what they did. Mick Jagger has a lot of money. He has a lot of pull. And he orchestrated the storyline that the humanist child Franklin Graham sent me a letter I was going to tell you about. He said that humanism is the greatest threat to America since communism. So the child of a humanist is a metaphor for abortion. He's made deaf because he can't hear the silent scream. And we'll get an abortion off him. So then they put Cedar Rivers across the street. My father was from Cedar Rapids. It's an abortion place, up by Martin Luther King, the abortion palace. And this is what they summoned from Oxford. And the resolution of this in the evil mind of King Crimson and Yoko Ono in the Palace of London is, aha, Queerball will preach forgiveness in return for being forgiven. Forgiveness is the bridge that you too must cross, told me a boy from medical college at the University of Pittsburgh who said that black medical doctor students simply do not measure up. That's what he told me. You will try, and so the black man comes and says, we will refract that onto the white. The white is not a Jew, it is an Semite. And UW Dialectical plays these sides. And the Vietnamese come in and get your gums infected and so on. From a place named after Yoko Ono's acorn. And they bragged of poisoning me in the mouth. That's mental health. Shifty and his gang were up to it. So that's what's really going on with me. And so, what they did to Gaza is a message from the gods of thunder. It's too late to forgive. It's too late to forgive. You must be abolished to forgive. Now, the people of Gaza are going to look at me and say, that's a humanist. We're fundamentalists too. So we're the good guys. And they will get on board with, the Beach Boys of the double cross and the sandbagger system online. They're going to say, Abby Martin says, to Queerball, because he cried when a girl blew up the neuroplasm that the Jews implanted, because we don't like humanists either. So Gaza is going to come running to kick Queerball in the face on their way out.